three, go.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Zoom meeting for May the 18th, 2021. This is also not just a virtual meeting, our usual, but it's a general meeting because we're going to be opening nominations for officers today. And today, in addition to that, we're going to have our usual questions and answers, a dearth of them, I might say. There's only two so far. We're going to watch Justine unbox the new iMac M1. If you've ever watched Justine, she's either very entertaining and enthusiastic or annoying. I'll let you decide.
Her correct name is iJustine.
That's her web presence. Yes.
She goes by iJustine. Oh,
right.
we got a new message in the Zoom mail just came in too.
Lola, come on in. Lola.
Shortcuts you aren't using? A downloadable keyboard shortcut guide that you can go to the site that I specify on the slide, and you can print out a keyboard shortcuts page. Obscure system preferences will be discussed today, as well as learning to drag and drop on the iPad. We'll also learn a feature that I didn't know we could do. Of course, I'm not a big pictures or movie guy, but using Quicktime to merge multiple video files. And it's going to be very, very interesting. So without any further ado, let's move to questions and answers. Before we get to these questions, are there any questions that might have come up right now? We've got 30 minutes for questions and answers. If not, we'll move on. My Comcast service failed yesterday and displayed a message that a certificate had expired. Comcast wouldn't say what it was other than it was a glitch and had to retrovision. That was an interesting typo. They had to reset the modem to reprovision the modem. So has anybody else had that happen with their Comcast internet service? No?
Never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, it came up on every screen in the house, black.
And it said, something to do with Comcast. They actually say it was something wrong with her modem.
Yeah, they said it was something wrong. No, they said, no, the modem is working fine and the voice telephony worked fine, but it wouldn't let anybody online from here.
It's a function of the router that's built into the modem. Usually you get this. Astound is famous for this. Astound
this guy
does not have certificates for their domain name. And when you go to check your mail, from periodically it'll say, oh, you got to trust this. You got to push trust. You got to say always trust, put in your admin password to trust the certificate that they don't have and have never had for their mail to do SSL.
Yeah, well, it took about 20 minutes for this guy to reprovision the modem. And after that was done, it was fine. And he said, oh, this happens about once a year. And I said, I've had Comcast since 1992 and it's never happened before. So but that led to the next question. And I have to confess, I'm kind of ignorant about this sort of thing. What are certificates and how does one understand them and use them to one's own advantage? I'm sure Ann or John can answer this one.
Well, certificates are something you're not normally supposed to see. So each domain name has to buy a certificate that certifies who they are. So when you go there, you know you're going to the right place and somebody isn't faking who they are. A lot of places, the certificates, they cost money. Now on Ann's server, all the domains are included in her server. They're all have a certificate automatically.
It's called a wildcard certificate. So you can get certificates just for mail, or you can get certificates that cover your mail and for your domain and your website, both. You buy a certificate for www.dvmug.org, but you also get a certificate for mail.dvmug.org, or you get a wild card that covers everything.
So if you don't have a certificate, like Astound does not have a certificate for their mail and never have had it, and you go there, you'll get this warning that this site is not trusted. Would you like to trust it? And then you have to put your password in to allow your computer that you say that this is okay, it's not trusted, they don't have a certificate to say who they really are. So it's a problem if they don't have it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because once in a while I'll run into a place that says that their certificate is expired or
Exactly, they don't
something
renew
like
it,
that.
or there's something, and then so they have to get on the stick and.
Right, you're supposed to do it annually. And it's a pain in the ass to install. You always have to jump through hoops. You have to, get this code, this encrypted code and match it up over here and da, da, da. So
If you go to most web pages now, they are encrypted. They're HTTPS. That means you have to have a certificate to verify who you are, and it encrypts the traffic, like going to your banks only used to do this. Now Google wants everybody to do this. So Facebook has HTTPS, Twitter has it, most everybody has it by default, and they have a certificate. If they let that expire and you go there to that place and their certificate has expired, you'll get this message that this is untrusted. Would you like to trust this?
Yeah.
And you're on your own, that you're the one that's certifying that this is okay, when your password that you think this is okay, even though they're not, don't have a certificate to say who they really are.
I've noticed
Okay.
that some websites I have gone on to lately show not secure once
Right,
I
they never
log
bought a
in.
certificate.
And some of these have been government websites too, which
Yeah.
seems like they ought to be reliable.
you'd think,
You would think, because everybody now knows that, this is a requirement. Google ranks you down. If you don't have an HTTP site, they'll lower your ratings and you won't be found on Google.
Well, it's much
So-
like State of California Department of Employment. Aren't they still running what Windows Millennium or something? I understand their equipment is so far out of date that it's pitiful.
So just know that if you go to a website and you get this, that you're on your own. It can
Yeah.
be fake. And if it's someplace where you're don't ever go to a website that's not HTTPS and do any kind of transaction with data or money. Don't give them any information, any passwords or anything like that. You can go there and browse the data, but you're on your own. It's not encrypted. It's not certified. It's, it's the Wild West out there.
Always look for that little lock.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sometimes you see the lock. Most places now it defaults to HTTPS, and then you go
Yeah.
there, and if they don't have their certificate, you'll get a pop-up that says this is not trusted. This is not secure.
That brings up another issue that a lot of people may not realize if they're using Apple Mail and they have the window split, the window raised from the bottom. Somebody posted on the BBS the other day that they had received something, and she said, I didn't even want to open that mail. Well, you
That's
don't
a
have.
question. That's a question, and they put in a Zoom mail just a few minutes ago.
Oh, was
She
that
wants to
Arlene?
delete it. She wants to delete it without opening it.
You could anything in Apple Mail, if you've got the previews on, you don't have to open. You can preview it without committing yourself, and that's a really nice feature. I'm not familiar with other
Well, if
Apple.
you have the preview turned on and you click on it, it immediately shows in the preview.
Yeah. So, but that doesn't open it. That just shows you the preview of it. It
Well, that's the
doesn't really.
same as opening. It's open in a preview pane.
Where is the preview switch to turn on?
Well, when you click on an email, do you see another window that shows you the email? Or you just have a list of the emails, and when you click on it, nothing else shows up until you double click it and opens in a new window?
Interestingly, sometimes I'll get emails that refuse to preview. The only way they can be viewed is by opening them.
So do you know, so do you know what a preview is when we're talking about a preview?
I'll tell you what, let me stop sharing and I can show people,
Show
okay?
them the difference between a preview and then turn on columns where there's no preview.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna stop the sharing here at this point. And now I'm gonna share screen again. And this time I'm gonna go to, what is it, just desktop? Yeah,
I
okay,
personally don't use preview.
I
double
do.
click. I double click the message to open it.
So here's my mail.
No preview. Oh, wait a minute, you have preview on the bottom.
I have preview on the bottom. Now, like,
So
there's
as
a-
you click on it, it shows the preview and the dot goes away and it shows that you've read it.
yeah. Now, you can get rid of the previews by doing that,
Exactly.
okay?
Now,
So
now
I
as you
go back,
click on them, she wants to delete it without showing that it's read or opening preview.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
so,
have to close
so
the
now I
preview
double
page.
click it, now that's open.
Okay,
This is open. And I've committed to opening it, but if I go to preview,
As soon as you click
and
on it, it
there's,
opens.
this is a preview, I haven't actually
Right.
opened it.
No, wait, no. You've
No.
opened it.
You've
It
opened it.
shows you the little red dot that is now unread. You've opened it.
So you need to have preview pane turned off to safely delete a message without opening it. Is it, got that, Janet? You good with that, Janet?
Is that your goal? You don't want to open it?
You're muted, Janet.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, this is, I'm not sure what you said had to do with my question. What was it?
So the preview pane needs to be closed in order to delete a message without reading it.
But
Yes.
would that put it in trash or actually delete it?
Well, yeah,
No, it
if
goes to
you,
trash.
it goes to trash.
Okay, but what I was asking was, can you make it not go to trash, make it instantly delete?
No, you can't bypass the trash.
Okay, because I remember one of the things I liked about Entourage was if you wanted to, you could delete something right
As
away.
far as I know, Entourage doesn't have that feature either.
Well, now, in my junk, for instance, I can choose
Yes.
to erase junk mail and that's gone.
Yes,
If you
so
use the-
I send mail to my junk folder and then I erase it from there without ever opening it.
if you have the other view, you can delete it directly from the preview without opening it. If you have the view where the mail is listed on the left and the display on the right, it'll trash from
Where-
the preview.
This way? This way? Ken, are you talking about
the-
this way?
No,
Not the classic view.
I was thinking, my question had to do with, I say I've already read it. I don't care if it's opened or not, but I just want to delete it right away.
Just hit the delete button, it'll go to your trash. Then if you've
But
got
I'm
your,
saying, can you
you-
delete it without going to trash?
no,
Okay,
but you
No.
can set your trash so that the trash will empty at periods that you specify.
yeah, but I don't want it to empty everything, just certain things I don't want to see again.
Oh, wow.
Why are
Okay.
you concerned about it not disappearing and not going to the trash?
Well, I don't want to clutter up the trash. The trash is for stuff I might want to look at again.
No,
Oh,
no.
Why don't
Well,
you
no,
create a
no,
folder?
I don't, no, I'm, once in a while, there's something I'm sorry I trashed. You never
Okay.
have that happen?
Okay, here's the rule of the trash. Don't ever put anything in the trash in mail or in photos or on your Mac on the dock that you might want to get back. Consider it in the trash, consider it gone.
Yeah, what I've set up for some of, when I used to have a little side business, I set up a folder above the trash icon when they still had a trash icon. And I called it pre-trash.
Yeah, oh, yes, I do that. I have one for stuff, save a while and things like that.
Oh, okay. Well, then you
But every
go.
once in
There
a
you-
while, I'm sorry about something and want to look for it.
Sometimes you can
just
get
a
that
bad
back if you
practice
go
to
web-
store things in the trash that you
I
might want to get
don't
back
store
sometime.
things in the trash.
Okay,
Sometimes you can get that back if you go to web-based mail, because it will
Yeah.
delete off that for some period of time.
Correct.
Also, is Google still have a dislike for Apple Mail? I know up until
I don't think
recently,
so.
at least I had to go in and change my Gmail accounts to accept mail clients that aren't as secure as they would like.
oh, if you're using an old mail program, yes, you have to allow older unsecure clients.
Right, well, Apple Mail was on that list.
No, it's not.
It may not be now.
Well, maybe you're using an old operating system, right?
I've got Mojave.
That should be trusted.
Yeah, I've never seen that, Kenny.
Really?
No, never
Yeah.
seen it.
Seen that on each of my Gmail accounts.
My Gmail works perfectly. Perfectly.
Well, I'll update when I get the new Mac.
Yes. And
I'm waiting for the bigger one.
yeah, they were speculating on Mac Break Weekly today. One of them was wishful, hoping for a 40-inch screen. That'd
My
be too
desktop's
big.
that big.
That would be too big, too big.
I could live with 30.
Well, they think it's maybe going to be 32 because 24 to 30 is not a big jump. You know, like a 21 to 27 was about 5 inches, 6 inches more. And the 24 to 30 or 32 would be 6 or 8 inches more. So who knows?
Jason Snell has a review of the 20 new colored iMacs, and he ran Geekbench on it. The numbers are faster than the 27-inch iMac Pro by quite a bit.
Yeah, the M1 is really a marvelous design thing. They were talking about it today. I was in and out of Mac Break Weekly, and the way that they designed it was that makes it so much more effective in dealing with jobs that you have on the computer. Just it's a whole new concept in getting your work done.
How about getting a Mac Mini driving an 8K 60-inch display?
Well, okay.
Give us a review of that when you get it.
Yeah. Let us know how that goes.
Well, they're talking about coming out with another Mac Mini, a Mac Mini Pro.
That's what I would love. So you could put some more,
Ooh, that's what I'm waiting for. Yes,
like a cube, like the G4 Cube. So you could put
Yeah.
some stuff in there. You could put some memory in there. You could put some more hard drives. You could get in there and do stuff easily, like a mini Pro.
I love that design. That was a great
A
design.
mini me.
Remember, we have to have a general meeting.
Yes, indeed. That's right. We'll go back one. So any other questions? We have another 6 or 8 minutes left, but if not, we'll go into the general meeting.
I have a question. We got a message on email that Xfinity has started to a new system. And check on that to go in and get it. Is that a scam? Is that
Yeah.
gonna?
You need to
Scam.
switch to the latest version to enjoy new features.
You need to switch to the latest version to enjoy new features.
Clicking this link.
Click this link.
Yeah, don't do it.
Don't
If
do
you
it.
have a question,
Don't do it.
Click
get
no
your
links ever.
Xfinity, get your Xfinity bill and get the phone number off of that and call that number and ask them.
Yeah, you can
Good.
call 1-800 Comcast is their number.
Thank you. Good.
Yeah, yeah, don't click on it, Helen.
Okay.
Call
find,
the number in the
I find-
email or click on the link in the email. Ask them from another source.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I find Xfinity support via chat pretty good.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Okay, so without any further questions, we'll move on.
Would
Now,
Dawn
keep
like
in
to
mind-
start the general meeting?
Yeah,
Dawn
Don,
here?
I'm
Okay.
going to turn off my sharing.
Go ahead.
There you go. You got the floor.
All righty then. As you guys know, we're required to hold elections once a year. And since we're not meeting physically, we're meeting virtually, we're doing the process this way. Those of you that were here last year probably remember we did it the same way. So basically the way it works is to keep things simple. All the people that ran for office last year are running for office this year. Don't know how long we're going to be able to do this, but for now we're continuing to do it. Now, if one of you would be interested in running for office, I'm opening the floor up as of now to nominations. And if you are interested, the only thing is if you're planning on nominating someone other than yourself, please make sure that you have their approval before you do it. That just cuts down on the bad feelings. So I do have the floor open for nominations. Would anyone like to?
Don, let me interrupt. Point out, if you might, what offices there are.
There are. There is a president, a vice president, a secretary, and a treasurer. Each of those is a one-year term. And then we have 5 members of the board of directors, 2 of which are up for re-election this year. They have 2-year terms.
Are there any open offices right now, or
No.
I would think, however, that a couple of the people would welcome somebody stepping in to take their place, because we're under exigent circumstances this year. And the present structure has agreed that they would stay on for another year. But for instance, I wouldn't be a bit shocked to see somebody nominated for vice president, as our vice president is very busy with other things, but she graciously agreed to remain on if there was nobody else.
So in the distant past, we actually would have multiple people running for offices, and we would have elections, and we would vote between 2 people.
Yeah.
We haven't had that for quite some time.
True.
Yes, I'd add Irene was reluctant to run again this year and would be somewhat relieved if somebody else chose to step up to the position of vice president.
and what are the duties of the vice president?
The duties of the vice president are to take over the duties of the president should he become indisposed. And the other duty would be to attend board meetings once a month on Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month. And the duty of the vice president is to attend the biannual dinners at my house where I go all out.
And also to accept any responsibilities that the board or the president may ask the vice president to do. And the board meetings are now by Zoom, so you don't have to be in the Diablo Valley to do that.
So then what are the duties of the president that the vice president would step into if the president were indisposed?
Yeah.
The president would have responsibility to run general meetings, to be sure that the bylaws were adhered to be responsible for approving the financial reports submitted by the treasurer, to monitor the activities of the club to make sure that they're consonant within the bylaws structures, and to be administratively responsible for making sure that all obligations are taken care of, and any other duties that may, or other administrative duties that may arise.
So if I may ask one more question, sorry, being the new guy who this is all new to me, wouldn't it make sense for one of the board members to step up to vice president and freeing their office for somebody to step in there to have more continuity of
That would make
Yes.
total sense if anyone was willing to do it.
And no one is at this point.
So in theory,
We did
it would
ask.
be, in theory, it would be nice if the person who wanted to be groomed to be president would at least be on the board and come to the board meetings for a year and see how everything works. So they wouldn't
Yeah.
just come in off never being on the board and be the president, not knowing how things work.
We did that once before and it did not end well.
It was a
Although
disaster.
we did it once and it was a disaster, and we did it once, it was great. Chris was never on the board, Ann reminds me. Is
That's
that
right. That's right.
But
there-
we
there was-
recruited him because he came to he was coming to the food SIG. He was running, I believe he was running took over the iPad SIG, or he was active at meetings, and we knew, and we're going to dinner with him and all, we knew, but that's true of the person that was a disaster. He was coming to meetings, and, we recruited him as someone who knew what he was doing, but he was never on the board. So you never know. Yes, it would be nice for somebody new to be on the board, because I'm sure some of the other board members are getting,
Sure. I would
That's right.
suggest if somebody wanted to nominate themselves, the smart thing would be to nominate themselves for one of the board slots and get a little competition going.
it'd be nice for somebody who would be the vice president who's been around before, just in case. We
A
had
little
Don
historical
took over as
content.
president not because he was elected, because our president.
In theory, if Kenji were comfortable nominating himself for vice president, I would feel comfortable with his general knowledge of mugs. Yeah, remember, he's very active in other mugs.
Mhm.
On the other hand, though, I think it's probably a good thing if Kenji was interested. I would urge you to apply to run for one of the board seats, Kenji.
Maybe we could get one of the other board members. Well, there's only 2 positions up for election.
Yeah, whose positions are they?
Do we know?
You're asking us to be prepared?
Yeah, no, Don should probably have that.
I think Jack is one of them, and let me see here.
I don't think it's out of the question that one of the board members who is not running could resign and then run for vice president and open up a new position.
Yeah,
Is that possible?
sure is.
And mind you, this does not need to be resolved today, because the
No,
nominations are also open before the election next month.
correct. So we could go with the slate as it is today, and you could, anybody
Mull it
interested could-
over, and we could talk to the other board members and see if we want to shuffle.
So we do have other board members here. Don Chu is here.
Mhm.
Is Jack here?
Jack
No.
is not here.
And
But
I
I
believe,
believe-
Irene's not here. Tina's not here. Karen's not here.
Karen
No,
was here, I
Karen's
thought.
here.
who was
Karen's
a minute
here.
ago?
I think she's got her video turned off.
The question is whether or not we could get somebody else to
Step
take
up to vice
Irene's
president.
vice president spot. And I believe Jack might be interested.
Hey, Jack here?
Well,
No, Jack's not here today.
guys,
Jack's
this
not here.
discussion might best be
Yeah.
done in camera, so,
So
So,
Kenji is interested, huh? Kenji, you're interested.
I would be, yes, I'd be interested in hearing more about the
Okay, well, let's,
The board-
Okay,
Or-
let's
I'd be
proceed
interested
with the
in-
general meeting as is, and we can discuss it later. And remember that nominations are still open next month.
sounds
Yeah.
good.
So let's go ahead and,
let Don run that part.
Mhm.
Kenji's got my vote, the first vote.
By the way,
Uh-oh.
as far as I can tell, the two board members that are up for reelection is Jack and Chris.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
By the way,
so-
I am here. I'm pruning my grapevine in the shade.
all right. So anyway, let's go ahead and close nominations for now, and we'll go ahead and adjourn the business part. We will also have the floor open for nominations again next month before the actual elections are held. So you got a month to think about it.
We have a question in the chat. It would be good to have a printed on the screen list of the officers for election.
Okay, we'll figure out how to make that happen.
So we also used to have the printed Apple Press where we would have candidate statements for the people who were running against each other and such. Well, we haven't had that for quite a while because we didn't have any candidates running against each other, but we can put that in the MailChimp or the blog and link to it. We can get that information out there.
Yeah. Very good. So the nominations are not closed, but suspended until the evening, until the meeting of June, until a meeting in June, when they'll be reopened, right, Don?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't need to do any, under Robert's rules, we don't need to move or second anything. We just need to acknowledge that, I think.
Yeah.
Very good.
I would also suggest that something is sent out that says, this is what this office does, this is what this office does. So people don't want to volunteer if they don't know what the.
Well, we have bylaws that are electronic, and we can send a link to the bylaws, and you can read.
Yeah, sure.
They're actually on the BBS.
I don't want to run for anything. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Well, honey,
just
don't ask if you're not willing to read it.
They are what they are. You read them and you
I'm
interpret
not
them how you
saying
see
that.
them.
I'm
We're not going to
saying-
interpret.
I'm saying give more information if you want people to step up. That's what I'm saying.
There is
Okay.
descriptions on the BBS of the descriptions of the offices. Somebody did write those up before.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I'm going to turn on my screen sharing again and we'll resume the meeting.
Resume.
Resume, right. REZOOM. So Justine unboxes the new iMac. Now, I'm going to play a part of this video. It's lengthy, so I will go through a part of it and then we'll move on. That's Justine. Now,
Hi,
note,
Justine.
well,
There you are.
her
Your
name
name's
is
at the top.
Justine, but her website is iJustine.
Yeah.
Now, at the bottom of the screen, right down here, you'll see that there is the link for the full YouTube video, which we're going to cut off. Here we go.
Hey guys, it's Justine, and in front of me is one of the brand new M1 iMacs, and we are going to unbox it. Not only am I going to be unboxing this one, but I'm also going to be unboxing every single color combination. That's going to be in a separate video, so look out. Just because you're here. Whoa, this magnetic charging port is pretty incredible. I know they weren't calling it MagSafe, but I'm just gonna go with MagSafe. No way, they even have the trackpad. Look how pretty. Here's the new keyboard with the Touch ID. That's exciting. Can't wait to edit this video on this iMac. This is so cool. It's a lightning to USB-C. This is fashion. Wait, what about this? Oh, I wonder if there's anything else. There's a mouse. I can't believe how beautiful this is. I'm completely redoing my office. It is gonna be themed. I guess it's already themed in pink. So I'm just gonna go home and put this where it belongs. I do like that they've kind of made this contrasting color. So like the back of the computers is a darker color to go with the front, which is a very light. I know people were saying that they would prefer this to be a darker bezel around it. I like the white. Anything else in here? Oh yes. We have the actual power cable. Oh my goodness, they gave you a sticker for the front and the back colors. I can almost hide behind it. Can you see me? Oh, this looks very, very good. So this is a 24-inch display. And the fact that this is so thin and light is really impressive. So what's great about the new iMac is the fact that they've been able to consolidate everything with the M1 chip. The thinness of these iMacs is so crazy. It is 11.5 millimeters thin and less than 10 pounds. So I'm gonna show you guys the comparison of how thin it is compared to the iPad Air. I mean, honestly, it's about 2 iPad Airs. 2, like it's, yeah, wow, thin. The display is a 24-inch Retina display. It's got a new upgraded camera, a new microphone. The 1080p FaceTime HD camera has a larger sensor, and it has image signal processing to give you much better quality. There's a new studio quality 3-mic array with beam forming to help ignore background noises. It's 85% faster than previous 21-inch iMacs, 50% faster graphics, 3x faster machine learning. It's got 4 USB-C ports, 2 Thunderbolt, and of course, this new power connector, which is amazing. You can choose from one of the keyboards that has Touch ID or seen how beautiful these computers are, but the one thing that is most impressive is how powerful they are. So I'm going to be using this Envoy Pro FX Thunderbolt drive. This is made by OWC. I'm such a huge fan of their products. They are basically my main storage solution for everything. I edit directly off of these drives. I use them for backup. I'm going to do a full video on that another day.
So anyway, that's Justine. She goes on for quite a ways doing a review. And here is another link up here for her opening every single color of the iMac. You can see that she's standing here in front of them all. And her enthusiasm is either refreshing or annoying, whichever way you want to vote. But she's pretty interesting. So AirTags, gift from Apple or a gift to stalkers? Apple has thought this through pretty well. Let's watch a video how they work. Unless there's any comments about the previous video. Don, you raised your hand. Oh, you got an AirTag. Yes, good. Okay, here we go. Oh, come on, go back. Come on. Why is this not playing? I guess we'll have to use the link. Oh, great. I apologize for this. Come on.
You need to leave screen sharing and then come back to it.
It said.
Well, what happened was the link didn't work.
The splash screen said something about Launchpad, not AirTags.
Well, that was the second one. Let's go back. So this is supposed to be a link.
That looks like
Oh,
it probably
okay.
is.
Here we go.
All right, as promised, AirTags, or AirTag, the AirTag. So this is the latest addition to Apple's product lineup for 2021, and AirTags are simple, really. You attach it to some stuff to help you find that stuff. So you might remember when they announced at the keynote, they'd be selling a single one of these AirTags for 29 bucks, or a 4-pack, the obviously better deal, at 99 bucks. And the unboxing, right in line with what you'd expect, is pretty minimal. There's no Apple stickers even, just a few bits of documentation. Then you open it up and there's some instructions and the AirTag's right in the middle. And it's actually inside some plastic here. And so when you take it out of all of this plastic, the last bit is a tab. And when you pull that plastic tab out, the battery circuit is closed, the AirPod turns on for the first time and makes a noise. So from there, you want to grab your iPhone on iOS 14.5 or later, which is going to be brand new when this comes out, and put that AirTag down somewhere nearby. Seems like the power button is pretty close to ideal, and you get a message to pair it up. And this step is actually pretty important. So first you name it so you know what it's attached to when you see it on the map, and then you register your AirTag so it connects the AirTag to your Apple ID and phone number. So if someone finds it, they'll have that info and they can get in contact with you. Then you're done. So this is the first time I'm seeing an AirPod in person, and it's about the size I expected. It's pretty small. It's like a puck. It's like a checkers piece. It's about the size of a checkers piece, but nice and smooth. It's this white plastic at the top, and then it's a stainless steel metal bottom, and it's got some text on it that says, designed by Apple in California, assembled in China, Bluetooth LE for low energy, AirTag, and an Apple logo in the middle. Great. I've only had this for a couple hours though, and you can already see I do have some scratches on it. So I imagine if you have this on like your keychain or something where it's gonna rub up against keys a lot, don't expect this to look amazing after a while. It's kind of like the Apple Card, same thing. Looks great when it's brand new, but it's gonna take some wear and tear. I was kind of hoping they'd make a black one since it's white like this, but then I also thought, when that scratches, that would look even worse. So this build is actually IP67 water resistant, so it can dunk underwater temporarily, which is very impressive because this disc is easily removable. So you push in on the metal disc and twist like a child safety lock, and then the back pops right off, and you can replace the battery that way. That's your CR2032. That should last about a year. Fun fact, that's the same battery that's in a lot of car key fobs, including Teslas. I wish it was a little bit thinner, or like a little bit flatter basically, because I'm not putting this in my wallet. This is actually too thick for, I have a pretty minimal type wallet situation where maybe something a little flatter or squared off would have actually worked better. So this would be an area where Tile still does have a bit of an advantage because they'll happily make all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and they do make a flatter, squarer version where looks like this is the only size and shape AirTag will have for a while. So all right, now that I have an AirTag, what can it actually do? Because this thing that I just got, it doesn't have any like sort of pinholes or any loops built in. So while you can just get one of these for 29 bucks, that by itself isn't very useful if you want to actually attach it to something and not just toss it in a bag. So you have to spend another little bit to get a keychain or a loop or something to actually attach it to an object. Those will start somewhere around 10 to 15 bucks, all the way up to 450 bucks apparently. So Apple makes a couple good ones that they sent for me to try. This red leather keychain ring is solid. You snap the AirTag in the pocket with this buckle and then you're pretty much good to go. I took off the gigantic metal ring and I just used my existing key ring instead. It's a little smaller. Worked fine. Then they also make these bag tag things called loops. So again, you just snap the AirTag in there with the button, and then you wrap the thing around itself or a handle or a strap on a bag to secure it in place. doesn't stand out too much, I guess, but if I'm doing a backpack, maybe I'll just put it inside the bag, honestly. It's almost just as functional. But then there's a bunch of third-party ones too that I've already started to see the announcements of. Belkin is making some $12 straps and key rings. Nomad is doing a more premium, like covered leather version, and also a glasses strap, which is hilarious. Moment also made some hard shell ones with adhesive, so you can slap it on the back of a TV remote or on a drone, maybe something you might lose. And dbrand also made a combo tag keychain that's customizable because, of course, you can skin the tag itself. So, the moment of truth, you lost something, right? So you need to find, I lost my keys, for example, right? So they're somewhere around here in this room. I don't know exactly where they are, but I know I've got an AirTag on them. So this will be your experience if you have an iPhone 11 or 12, one of the latest ones that has the U1 chip inside. So first you open the Find My app, which you've probably already seen, and that attempts to locate any of your iCloud connected devices and puts them on a map. I have a lot, sorry. But over in the Items tab, you have a list, and you can tap on the thing you're trying to find, and you can play a sound from the AirTag's built-in speaker. Or if it's nearby enough, you can go through this pretty sweet directed precision finding experience. So that's pretty sweet. It's pretty straightforward to just follow it until you find the thing. You can trigger that UI anytime you're within Bluetooth range. I found it's effective right at about 30 feet. As soon as you go over 30 feet, not so much, but once you're following it, you get closer and it's starting to give you sounds, and actually when you get really close, haptics. So that made it really easy to find my keys. But also the play sound thing, pretty traditional, still works. It's not as sexy of a demo, but obviously if your keys are nearby and you just hit it, that's pretty good. That's actually impressively loud for a speaker that I can't even see. So you can initiate that fun finding UI from about 30 feet away from the tag I found, basically within range of the ultra wideband signal. If you try when you're too far away, it's gonna say your signal's too weak, but then it does still let you play a sound from however far away you are. With that button, you can follow the sound until you're within 30 feet, then it starts to direct you. So overall, I'm gonna give precision finding like a 9 out of 10. Honestly, it works very well. Basically, as long as you're in the same room as the thing you're trying to find, you should be able to find it pretty quickly. Now, let's say you really lose something. Like you're not in the same room anymore, you're not even in the same place. You leave your backpack on the train, you get off the train, and then the train's gone, it's off to the next station. That is actually, I think, probably the most impressive part of this whole Find My experience with AirTags. So you go into the Find My UI, select the item, and mark it as lost. Now at this point, hopefully there are other iPhones nearby, and it can help passively update the location of your AirTag on the map. But when you mark it as lost, it lets you enter a phone number and a message for the people that find it. Now, number one, this is probably what's gonna make AirTags way better than Tile, just because Tile is dependent on being around other tiles and people that actively use Tile. This Find My thing is dependent on other iOS devices around, and there's just iPhones everywhere. It depends on where you live, of course, but there's a lot of iPhones around to constantly help you find your lost AirTag. But then, here's where it gets interesting, it doesn't depend always on an iPhone. So if I happen to find this AirTag, I just saw it on a train or something, and I have an Android phone, I can scan this AirTag just like any other NFC tag. And it'll pop up and actually bring up a website that shows me the phone number and the message that was left on that AirTag. Then hopefully I'll call that number, maybe text you and get it back to you. Now if I pass by on an iPhone, I've tried, it doesn't seem like anything happens if I'm just near another AirTag, but if I'm a little more proactive about it, I can open the Find My app, go over to items, and then scroll down to identify found item. Then the lost AirTag shows up here with that message and the phone number that was left on it. Either way though, it's smart. It's kind of like a 21st century luggage tag situation where I was thinking like, maybe I'll just put it inside my backpack, but I want someone who finds my backpack to see the AirTag. So in previous days, you see a little luggage tag on something, it's got a phone number, you can call the person, give them the thing back. If I see an AirTag, it's like a digital version of it, I scan it, I get the same information, hopefully I get the thing back to them. Now, the last tidbit has to do with security actually. So, have you ever thought what would happen if someone tried to use an AirTag maliciously? Like they tried to literally track someone with it, like slip it in their car or in their bag? Well, Apple has thought of that. And basically, if you have an iPhone and your iPhone notices that it seems like an AirTag is following it around, it will actually notify you and play a little sound. Now, if you're in a car with someone for a while, then your AirTag would be close to a stranger's iPhone for a while, and maybe it would look like it's following them around. But I looked it up, it won't notify them because it's still with you. So it only starts triggering that weird, hey, this might be following you, once the AirTag is separated from its owner. So it makes a lot of sense. That's smart. I was thinking about that train situation earlier. Like, if I left my backpack on a train with an AirTag in it, it would be separated from the owner, obviously, and now it's gonna look like that AirTag is following around somebody who is also on the train, and it will probably ping them, and that would probably help you find your backpack faster. But either way, that's it. That's about as much as I can say about a little $29 white puck. It's useful, of course, but now you pretty much know everything you need to know about AirTags and if this is for you and if you should get one. Yeah. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
You're muted.
You're muted, Rick.
Sorry about that. I searched around looking for a video specifically that would cover some security, because there has been some talk about people using these things to stalk people or to put a magnetic catch on it and put it on somebody's car. You see some guy who you know is a jewelry salesman and you want to follow him around so that you can knock him off for or knock him over rather, for a robbery. He's going to know about it if he's got an iPhone, and a substantial number of people do.
I think there's plenty. Somebody was mentioning that on, I think, Mac Break last week, and said there's plenty of other things that have been out there for quite a while that you can buy to do that.
Yeah. There's a place that I saw, I don't remember, I think it was in New York at Macworld one year. They actually had a store off of Times Square called the Spy Store, and they sold all these tracking devices and everything. So they've been around for a long time, but specifically this particular system seems to minimize, I won't say eliminate, but it seems to minimize the dangers to people who are being tracked.
I don't think the bad guys are going to use this to activate it. You have to activate it with an Apple ID, and then Apple knows who owns the damn thing that's tracking you.
Exactly.
There's a trace. There's a trace of who you are.
I have a different wonder about this. So I'm on an e-bike owners Facebook group, and people there were really excited about that. These would be great. You hide it, you stick it under the seat or someplace like that, because bikes get stolen so readily these days, you know, and that you could find your bike if somebody snatched it. But I wonder about, so if the person who stole it had an iPhone, they would be notified about this thing, and also it would start, I believe it starts beeping, so that's one of its features. It starts beeping so that if you slipped it in somebody's pocket, they would hear it and they would know they're being tracked. So it doesn't seem like it would work very well for that, for finding your bike that had been stolen.
Tidbits, I haven't read the article, but Tidbits, I think today or yesterday, had an article about all the different scenarios like this. And so you might want to go read that.
Yeah, I don't think it does.
Somebody tried putting it in the US mail and mailing it and tracking it to see what would happen.
Yeah, I saw that. I don't think the beep is activated for
For three,
the
it's for
person.
3 days or something.
Yeah, I don't think that becomes apparent to the thief. But yeah, maybe we'll have to search for more videos on this subject.
I think
But
I didn't
one
read
thing
the
is-
tidbits article yet, but I'm sure he has all those scenarios. I remember hearing something about a 3-day thing before it beeps.
One thing is that if your property is out there moving away from you, like somebody snatched your, whatever the object was, it'll only pop up from time to time when it's near another Apple device. That's
Like I don't think it has the feature with like, if you leave the house without your keys and you get out on the street, then it says, hey, you forgot your keys.
I think you could use it for a search warrant.
For a search warrant?
Yeah, basis for a search warrant.
Oh, yeah, sure. You track your bike to where it is, call the cops, let them get a warrant. If they've got a district attorney that's on their, you don't have to wait for 48 hours to get it.
How does this compare? How does this compare to Tile? Is Tile the same technology?
It's a competitor.
And Tile is not part of the Apple system, so it has a far smaller web than this does. This, there's a couple of.
The thing that makes this compelling is it talks to all the other iPhones it runs by and bumps into, and they will tell you where it is.
Yeah.
You're more likely to find it because it'll notify you where it is based on the other iPhones.
Okay. I'm sure we'll have more discussions about these devices as they become available in 3 days. On Friday, all this new stuff from the Spring Fest is going to be available in Apple stores. And it's
They
also
should have.
beginning.
Somebody says it makes a lot of sense. They didn't, they redesigned the Apple remote for the Apple TV. They didn't put this inside of that puppy. They should have. So you can find it in the couch.
Oh, doesn't
although
Apple...
I heard somebody makes a 3D printed case that you can put this AirTag on your Apple remote.
Well, that's too bad because the Roku comes with that built in.
You'd think they would have thought that when all that trouble of redesigning the Apple remote, and they didn't put this inside.
So
I
I wondered.
Attached to my glasses.
So I wondered what is ultra wideband, and I found this. UWB is a short-range wireless communication that, like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, uses radio waves, but it differs substantially in that it operates at a very high frequency. As its name denotes, it also uses a wide spectrum of several gigahertz. One way to think of it is as a radar that continuously scans an entire room and precisely lock onto an object like a laser beam to discover its location and communicate data. And it's also very low power.
Yeah, that little thing lasts for a year on a little coin battery.
Yeah.
Cheap battery you can get almost anywhere.
Yeah, I buy a little card of them, like 5 or 6 of them on Amazon for about $4 or $5. Of course, if you go to Batteries Plus, I think they charge you $4 or $5 for one. But yeah, they're available cheaply. So moving along.
Hey, Rick, on the batteries, Harbor Freight has those type of circle batteries in a pack with different sizes too,
Oh, that's nice to know. I didn't know that.
I think $3, $4 for about 4 or 5 of them,
Harbor Freight is like Toys for Us for adult men.
Oh,
maybe some women too.
Is it a online store or a brick and mortar?
Well, no, you can buy stuff online, but there's one here in Pacheco. There's
Yeah,
stores
brick and
everywhere,
mortar.
all over the country.
There's one in Vallejo. I'm sure there's one in San Francisco.
I don't know about
they're all over the place.
Alexa, is there a Harbor Freight in San Francisco?
An answer for that.
It's basically a tool store.
My Alexa says, sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
I stammered. Alexa, stop. Alexa, is there a Harbor Freight in San Francisco?
I couldn't find one in San Francisco, but I found a few options. There's Harbor Freight Tools on East Francisco Boulevard, Harbor Freight Tools on Hesperian Boulevard, and Harbor Freight Tools on Contra Costa Boulevard. You can
Yeah, thank you. Stop. Alexa, stop.
Alexa, stop. So suddenly I hear this cacophony of Alexas in all our homes answering that question simultaneously.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Is that a yes or no?
No, there's none in San Francisco.
Rent's too high.
Yeah, probably. So I'm certain that not a lot of people use the Launchpad.
No.
But
what do you mean?
Yeah, and I started to try and reorganize mine one time, and it is so tedious. But yeah, actually you can, and you're going to find out how. So here we go.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today let me show you the basics of using Launchpad on your Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 900 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So Launchpad is a dedicated app on your Mac for launching other apps. You'll find it in the dock, most likely all the way to the left next to the Finder. Click on it there and it brings up Launchpad. There are other ways to bring up Launchpad as well. For instance, you probably have a dedicated key on your keyboard, the F4 key. If you press that, that brings up Launchpad. Now, if you have in System Preferences a certain setting in Keyboard, and this checkbox here set on, then you'll have to hold the FN key when pressing F4 to bring it up. Note that on newer Macs, the F4 key is a shortcut for Spotlight, not for Launchpad. If you have a Mac with a touch bar, then Launchpad is a button in the control strip. There are other ways to bring up Launchpad as well that I'll get to in a few minutes. When you bring up Launchpad, you'll see a grid showing the apps that you have installed on your Mac. You'll probably have multiple pages of these apps. At the bottom you'll see dots. Here I've got 3 dots telling me I have 3 pages of apps. I can click on any one of those dots to jump to that page. I could also swipe with 2 fingers on a trackpad to go between them, or 1 finger across an Apple mouse to go between these pages. Another way to do it is using Command right arrow and left arrow. To launch an app, all you need to do is click the icon and it will launch the app. Now you can arrange apps any way you want in Launchpad. So to move apps around, you can simply click and drag them around and move them. But it's easier if you click, wait for everything to wiggle and go into this mode. And now they seem to move a little bit better and you have a lot more control over where they go. If you want to put them on another screen, simply move to the right or to the left and wait, and it will scroll over to that screen. You can also group apps together in folders. So if I take one app, drag it to another, and drop it on it, it'll create a folder. You can then name that folder. And then you have this little folder with those 2 apps in it. You can now drag other apps into that folder. The easiest way to do that is click and wait till everything wiggles, even though you can drag before that. But it's easier to put into folders once everything is in this mode. So you can collect a bunch of apps so that they only take up 1 slot here in Launchpad. And then if you ever want to go and launch one of those apps, you now click on the folder and then you click on the app. You can move apps out of folders just as easily. So just click, wait till everything's in that mode, and then drag out. Now I'm often asked, how can I remove an app from Launchpad? Well, Launchpad by default is going to show every app in your applications folder. It's not easy to have an app there but not have it show up in Launchpad. If you want to clean up Launchpad, the best thing to do is to create folders to hold groups of apps. You can even create a folder that has apps that you just don't want to see. Put them all in that one folder and it will only take up 1 slot, perhaps on the last screen of Launchpad, and won't get in your way anymore. Now one of the best features of Launchpad is the search field at the top. So you can search for an app by simply starting to type its name. So if I type C, for instance, you'll see I have apps that have C at the beginning of the name or at the beginning of a word in the name of the app. If I continue to type, it will narrow things down even more. And notice that the first item is selected. So if I now hit return, it launches the app that was selected. You could actually start using the arrow keys right away to launch it out by the keyboard. Just use the arrows to go to the app you want, press return for it to launch. But by typing, you can narrow it down a lot, and often you can get very quickly to a single app that's there and then hit return to launch that app. So this can be the quickest way to launch apps on your Mac that aren't already in the dock. A lot of us, including me, use Spotlight. We use Command Space, we start typing, the app comes up as the top hit, and we hit return. But sometimes Spotlight can be a little sluggish, especially if it's an app you haven't recently launched. Using Launchpad can actually be quicker. You hit the F4 key, start typing, and then hit return. It's the same amount of key presses, but it's more reliable than using Spotlight. Now, another important function of Launchpad is it's how you officially uninstall apps that you've installed through the Mac App Store. So when you go into wiggle mode by clicking and holding, you'll notice some apps have an X button at the top left. And these would be apps that aren't system apps, and they're apps that you've installed from the Mac App Store, not specialized installers directly from the developer. And any of these apps now you can easily uninstall by simply clicking on the X. So I mentioned there are other ways to get to Launchpad. One of them is to set up your own custom keyboard shortcut. If you go to System Preferences and then Keyboard and Shortcuts, go to Launchpad, and you'll see that there's a Show Launchpad shortcut, but by default it's turned off. So turn it on, and now you can set it to something. So for instance, let's set it to Command, Shift, and Space. So that's now shortcut for Launchpad, and I can use that to bring it up, as well as using the F4 key. Another way to bring it up is to use hot corners. So go into Mission Control, click the hot corners button.
It's my
and you
meeting,
can set
Edie.
a corner to bring up Launchpad.
No, not till about
So then you just
5:30.
bring your
It's only
cursor
4 o'clock.
down to the bottom left corner, bottom right corner, whichever one you want, and it will bring up Launchpad. Note that if you hold a key, like say the Command key or the Option key, then it requires that key to be held down as well as the cursor to be in the corner. So here's some more tips. The icon in the dock actually can work as Launchpad without bringing up Launchpad. If you click and hold, it will bring up a list of all of the apps in Launchpad, and you can select one to launch it. It takes a second for that list to appear, but you can make it come up quicker if you hold the Control key down when you click, or two-finger click on a trackpad, right-click on a mouse. You can even then use keys on the keyboard to jump right to a section. You can see it's in alphabetical order with A at the bottom of the list. So those are the basics for using Launchpad on your Mac. As you can see, it's a way to see all of the apps on your Mac, easily launch them even if they're not in the dock, and also uninstall apps that you've installed from the Mac App Store. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.
Okay.
You're muted. Rick's
Darn it,
muted.
I keep doing that. Sorry. Oh, I've lost myself here. Quit Safari. Go back here. So I learned some stuff about Launchpad there that I didn't know before, and it can be a very useful method once you get used to it. I think it's worthwhile to explore, and maybe some of you guys might want to learn to take a look at it. Does anybody here use Launchpad at the present time? Nobody? It's amazing how many great features there are in the Mac. There's something for everybody, but Launchpad seems to not be in great favor, at least here with DVMUG.
Bill's raising his hand.
Sorry?
I stumbled on one feature, Rick. If you do the Launchpad and then you hold down the Option key,
yeah,
they immediately start wiggling.
Is that right? That's interesting. Yeah, that makes it a little bit easier to get a head start on some of the organizing that you might want to do. But it's very iPad-like insofar as setting up folders and also the disused applications. I like that idea of moving the DREC that maybe you use once a year over to the last page in one big folder. So, okay.
So I have a question about, so I don't really understand why I would ever want to, I mean, it's pretty, I mean, it's attractive, but I can't see why I would want to use it.
It makes it more like the iPad is basically what, so it's very simple. In the OS 9, it was called the launcher. Nobody used that either.
Well, I used to use it in, well, was it 9 or 7? I think that it also came out in iOS 7, if I'm not mistaken.
Could be.
But it was an option, and I used to set that up for, I was working at a retail outlet for Apple at that time. And I used to set that up for new customers, and they liked it, but they didn't, nobody knew it was there. It'd
You
pop
could
up
set
like,
it up, and it was tricky. You had to make folders and put things in folders, and then they would show up. And you could put only what you wanted in there. The Launchpad puts everything in your applications folder in there.
yes, and that's probably the downside to Launchpad, is it puts everything there. It's too bad you can't
One thing that I learned and I keep forgetting is if you want to uninstall one of those apps that came with the computer, like iMovie or GarageBand, because you don't use them. Supposedly, he says that's the easiest way to do it. You go in there and make it wiggle and delete it, and it's like on your iPhone, it deletes all the parts out of the system in theory.
Yeah.
What I've done is create something similar to now menus, where I put aliases of the commonly used items, put them all in a folder, and then drag the folder into the dock. That way I can set that as list. It pops up with the apps that I use, and I don't clutter up the dock.
Yes, yeah, that's another, that's a nice feature to the dock, is you could create folders.
Janet has her hand up for a while.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was just going to say that Spotlight makes it so easy and instant to open an app. I don't know why I would want to go through Launchpad.
I couldn't hear you.
She said Spotlight makes it so easy to find an app. Why bother with Launchpad?
Well, I think it's just, as he pointed out, sometimes it's a little sluggish, especially if it's for an application that you haven't used in a while and isn't currently in the memory cache of the operating system. But you know, it's why there's, as my dear departed mother used to say, that's why there's red jelly beans and green jelly beans. You choose what you want, you know.
Jerry had his hand up too.
Yeah, my question was about deleting an app. I always felt that it was good to use App Cleaner because supposedly it went and got all the.
In theory, what
files.
Gary says is, if it came with your computer from Apple or it came from the App Store, in Launchpad, when you make them wiggle and delete them, that it does the same thing as App Cleaner. It removes all the parts. I have not verified that that's true.
Well, I would assume so, but I find it very useful when I want to open an app that's not in the dock, some app that I don't use very often. The problem is I always forget to go to that. I go up and get onto the Finder and then go and
Go to
open
the
up
applications folder and get the list, and same thing.
And then find that list from there. This would be much faster.
Yeah.
So so my computer is Catalina, and I have a Cherry Mac keyboard. There it is. And F4 does not bring up Launchpad. And I went
It
in
says
keyboard.
on sometimes you have to hold the FN key to invoke the.
Yeah,
F
and I
key.
tried that, and that doesn't work either. And I went to keyboard shortcuts and turned on the show Launchpad option, and that says Command 4, and that doesn't work either.
So the Cherry Mac keyboard is not fully compatible with the Mac then, huh?
I don't know. This is the first I've run into where something
You
doesn't,
can
but
dra-
I mean,
it's-
F4 is F4, right?
The
Should
Launchpad
be.
is an app. You can drag it to the dock.
Can do that. So
In fact, I
Ken,
think
could
it
you,
comes on the dock and then you have to take it off.
Ken, can you explain, can you repeat what you said about the workflow of creating aliases in folders to simplify the dock?
I create a folder, then I drag aliases of everything that I use on a normal basis. Excuse me. Put it into the folder. I take the word alias off. Then I put the folder, I happen to have mine in the utilities folder. Then I drag the folder into the dock. It'll go to the right side of the line. Then I set that particular folder to show a list view. And it's a pop-up similar to what now menus used to do in the menu bar.
So you put it on the right side of the bar, not the left side?
Yeah, being a
has to
folder,
be
it
on the
goes on the
right.
right side of the bar. The
It
right
has
side
to
of the
go on the
bar
right.
are files and folders. The left side of the bar is applications.
It used to be that at some point, I don't think it is anymore, that the applications folder did come pre-installed on the right side of your dock and you'd push on that and you get all your apps. I don't think
Yeah,
that's true anymore.
You could do that.
I don't
too.
remember that.
It's just, it clutters it with things that I don't use, so I just use aliases. Take
Yeah.
off the word alias and it looks like the particular file. And it'll, when you put it in list view, it'll be in alphabetical order.
Yeah. Now I can't see my my dock right now, but I believe on this machine, I've created such a folder and put it on the left side
No,
of
only
the
apps,
dock.
only apps can go on the left side.
I'll have to, well, I'm not going to stop sharing at this point to go look, but
To the left of the line, only apps. To the right of the line goes everything else.
yeah.
Folders, servers, basically that's it. Files, you can put files in the dock on the left.
Yes.
Excuse me, on the
yes.
right, Only apps to the left of the line.
Yep. There's trash documents and downloads and
Yep,
whatever else.
downloads of the folder.
Yep.
You can put individual files there. You can put folders there. You can put server icons there. Originally, it came with an Apple icon over there that went to Apple's OS X site. That's a long time ago.
Well, those are power user tips, and maybe you'd like to know more about being a power user. So let's take a look and see what Gary has to say about that.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today, let me show you some major keyboard shortcuts that you may not be using. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 900 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There, you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So by major keyboard shortcuts, I mean shortcuts that just require the Command key and a single letter, number, or a symbol key on the keyboard. For instance, you probably use Command C and Command V for copy and paste. You probably use Command F for find. You probably use Command A to select all and Command Q to quit. But there are 49 keys on the keyboard that you can combine with Command for major shortcuts. So what are some of the other ones? Turns out some of them are pretty useful, but a lot of us just don't use them. So let's start off with one I use all the time, but I know a lot of Mac users don't use. And that's Command W to close a tab or window. If you look in the File menu in most apps, you'll find Command W. In this case in Safari, it's Close Tab because I have multiple tabs that are open. So if I use Command W here, it closes that one tab. And now if I look in the File menu, you can see Command W has switched to Close Window since there's no tab to close. I use Command W all the time to close tabs or windows, and it works in just about any app. Whenever somebody talks about clicking the red button at the top left-hand corner of the window, I know what they're talking about, but I actually never use that red button. I always use Command W. Now another shortcut you'll find in just about every single app is the one to get to preferences for that app. A lot of us are used to going to the app menu here at the top and then looking for preferences. But Command and comma is almost always the keyboard shortcut for this. So if you get used to using that, you never have to go up to that menu to find preferences. Now, a lot of us know that you could use Command Tab to bring up the app switcher and switch to other apps. But if you have multiple windows open in the same app, you can switch between those windows. Let's open up a new window here in Safari. And you can see now I've got two windows. So to switch between these, I would use Command and the backtick key, or the kind of opposite apostrophe. On US keyboards, it's the key to the left of the 1. So use Command and that, and you'll switch between windows in the same app. And that's pretty universal for any app that has multiple windows open. Now, out of all of these I'm going to talk about, this is the one that I think the most people already use, but a lot of people still don't. So I want to mention it. And it's Command H to hide the app. You could find that by going to the app menu and you'll see hide and the name of the app as Command H. You use that and it hides the entire app. It's still running. It just gets rid of the windows so you don't see them anymore. But if you were to use the app switcher to switch back to it, the windows just reappear. It just hides all of the app's windows. Far too many people use the yellow button or Command M to minimize a window into the dock, or they quit the app entirely, when it's much better to just use Command H to hide the app, especially if you plan on going back to it soon. Memory management on Macs is excellent. So if you're not using an app, if it's hidden, it's not going to be using much memory. So it's perfectly fine to keep apps hidden for hours at a time so you can get back to them quickly, have the same windows open in the same positions, and continue your work there. I regularly have apps like Mail, Safari, Notes, Reminders, and others open, running all the time, just hidden, and I switch back to them whenever I need them. Now, one of the apps that most people use all day long, even though you might not think of it as an app, is the Finder. There are some major keyboard shortcuts that a lot of people don't use and really should all the time. For instance, one is to use Command and up arrow to go up. So for instance, if I were to go down into this folder here and I want to go back up, just Command up arrow takes you up a level. Another one is when you do Finder searches. We do Finder searches all the time. And when you get the search results, you can double click on the file to open it. You can see the path here at the bottom if you want. But in a search result, you could use Command R and it will jump to the location of that file, which a lot of times is exactly what we want to do when we search for a file. The same thing works in Spotlight. If you select a document or file in Spotlight and use Command R, it will jump to the location of that file. Now there are of course 4 different views in the Finder. You can switch them here in the menu bar. You can switch between icon view, list view, column, or gallery view. And it's really useful to be able to quickly switch views when doing different things in the Finder. But it's a hassle to always go up here and select one, so a lot of people like to stick with one view. But the keyboard shortcuts to switch views are pretty simple. You can see them under View here, Command 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if you get used to using those keyboard shortcuts, it's really quick and easy to switch between the views, to use the one that makes the most sense at that moment. And another keyboard shortcut I want to mention in the Finder is if you go to View and there's Show View Options, which seems to be a really obscure command all the way down at the bottom of the View menu. But if you use the keyboard shortcut Command J, it's easy to get to. And this gives you a ton of great options to make each Finder view better for you. It changes with each view. So here I am in the icon view and you can see my options. But if I switch to list view, you can see I have different options in column view and gallery view as well. Now my next 3 shortcuts involve searching in text apps. So I'm going to use Pages, but the same thing works say in an app like TextEdit or just about any app that handles text. If you want to search for something, of course, you can use Command F and type what you want to search and search for that. But you can also select some text and use that for a search. If you look under Edit and then Find, you'll see that Command E is use selection for find. So by using Command E, whatever you have selected goes into the find field, but it doesn't do the search. However, using Command G will find next. So if you've already searched for something, whether it's using Command E at first or you've typed something out, Command G will find the next one. So it's easy to go through an entire document looking for something, hitting Command G over and over again. So let's give that a try. For instance, with this word selected here, I'll do Command E to use that for the search. Then Command G will find the next one. Another Command G will find the next one after that. Now Command J in the Finder allowed you to show the view options, but Command J in a text app will actually jump to whatever your selection is. So say I've gone somewhere and I've selected some text, but now I've scrolled somewhere else maybe to look something up and I want to jump right back to where the cursor is. Command J will do that. Another useful thing in most situations where you're typing text is to use Command T to bring up text options. So you can select some text, and of course you've got the format sidebar here in Pages. You've got tons of stuff here under Format. But notice Command T is Show Fonts. And you'll find the same thing, say, in TextEdit. Do Command T and it brings up this little set of text options, which allows you to select things like the font, the size, and a variety of different things here at the top depending upon what the app is capable of. So if you're not sure where to find how to change something with some text, try Command T to bring up this control, which will be universal between lots of different apps on the Mac. So here's another one in Safari. You might know Command I in the Finder, which brings up the info window. But Command I does something different in Safari. In the menu bar you'll find it hidden under File, Share, Email this page. Command I will do that. So if I use Command I here, it will create a new email in my default email app. The subject will be the name of the page and it will include the contents of the page in the message. But I can change that in the Mail app to show the web page, a PDF of the web page, or just a link to the web page. So if you find you often have to email either links or the contents of a web page to somebody, then Command I is definitely a shortcut you want to know. Now I told you I was only going to show you keyboard shortcuts that use Command and one other key. Well, I kind of lied because this last one actually requires the Shift key. The shortcut is Command ? But you need the Shift key to turn the slash key into a question mark. So Command, Shift, and then slash, and it will bring up the Help menu in the menu bar. Now what's the big deal here? I mean, most of the time we don't read the help information in an app. But searching in the Help menu will actually show you menu commands. So for instance here in Pages, if I wanted to find superscript, I may not know what menu it's under. But if I start typing, you can see it will find it and show me at the top. I can arrow down to it and it will actually then point out exactly where that command is. In this case it's Format, Font, Baseline, Superscript. But I don't even have to navigate over to it to use it now. I can simply hit the Return key and it will activate that menu item. So you can access any menu item in the menu bar by using Command ? Typing what the menu command is, or at least enough letters to get you there, and use Return to activate it. In the meantime you can learn where the actual menu item is for next time, or even see what the keyboard shortcut is. And another thing you can do with this is by activating this you can now use the arrow keys to go to the left and go to different menus and use the other arrow keys to navigate around in here to activate any menu item without having to use the mouse or trackpad. Technically Control and F2 or Control FN and F2, depending upon your settings, will take you to the Apple menu and you could do the same thing. But it's much more reliable to use Shift Command / to start with the Help menu. That works almost everywhere all the time. So I hope I taught you a few new keyboard shortcuts that you may have not known before, and perhaps this will make you more productive. Thanks for watching.
So there you have it. Lots of stuff there that one just never dreamed that there's that much stuff. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is a summary of those commands and more that Gary has put out that you can actually print. Now, down in the lower left corner, down here, I don't know if you can see my red arrow. Is everybody able to see this moving?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. When John puts this up on YouTube, you will be able to double click on that link and get this particular page and print it out on your printer. And it's very, very handy. I've used that in my classes at the Senior Center when we were doing that, and I handed those out to the Mac users and they're very gratefully received. So people enjoyed that quite a bit. So there's so many secrets to the Mac that it seems to never end. And in this particular video coming up next, and I know we're starting to run late on this today, but he goes into 15 obscure preference settings that you might find interesting.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today let's look at some obscure system preference settings that you should know about. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 900 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So System Preferences is filled with different settings for your Mac. Some of them we access all the time and you probably know about. But there are so many, there are some more obscure ones that you may not know about that are still pretty useful. So let's go into System Preferences and start right here at the top with your Apple ID settings. Now you're probably looking right away here at your iCloud settings, but if you switch to Name, Phone, Email, then you'll see information here about you, and here you've got 3 checkboxes, and this controls what marketing email you get from Apple. So if you're getting too much email from Apple all the time about new things, you can turn these off. Or if you're not getting them at all and you like to, you can turn them on. So next you've got this clock here at the upper right hand corner of your screen. But how do you control exactly what's shown there? In previous versions of macOS, this was under date and time. But now, in Big Sur, you go to Dock and Menu Bar and then scroll down to Clock. And here's where you control what's shown here. So you can have the day of the week, the date, you can switch to an analog clock, use a 24-hour clock, control whether AM and PM is shown there, even have the time separators flash every second, and you can have the time displayed with seconds in addition to minutes. There's even a way here to have the time announced. So on the hour, half hour, or quarter hour you can have the time spoken by your Mac. Now if you want to customize keyboard shortcuts you of course would go to Keyboard. But there's a special set of shortcuts that you can't access there that you can get to in Mission Control. In Mission Control there are 3 different shortcuts here for Mission Control, Application Windows, and Show Desktop. These can be set as keyboard shortcuts, but they also can be set to use one of the 2 sets of modifier keys. So for instance, if you always use the left Command key for shortcuts like Command S, Command V, you can use the right command, a key you may never otherwise use, to trigger Mission Control, Application Windows, or Show Desktop. So by switching to right command for this, now I can use the right command key on my keyboard and it brings up Mission Control. Now under Language and Region, this is where you can set what language that you use for your Mac. So for instance my Mac is set to US English and that's the only one that I've got here. A lot of people have multiple languages here if you switch between languages. But a cool thing that you can do is go to the Apps section here and set a custom language only for a specific app. So for instance I could go in here and say, well, while Safari is going to use my default, maybe I'll use Chrome and have that set to use a different language instead. That can be really handy for people that have to use multiple languages and find themselves maybe always looking at the web with one language but maybe writing in Pages in another. Now in Notifications you've got your settings for Do Not Disturb. Select Do Not Disturb here on the left and now you can have Do Not Disturb turn automatically on or off and set other things. So one really handy thing here is to check when mirroring to TVs and projectors. This will turn on Do Not Disturb whenever you connect to a projector. So if you give meeting presentations a lot, Do Not Disturb automatically goes on and you won't see little messages say from your spouse or kids while you're giving a presentation to the board of directors. Now when it comes to obscure system preferences, of course the accessibility settings are filled with them. There's tons of stuff in here that a lot of people don't know about. I'm just going to point out 2. One is under Zoom you can enable hover text. And when you do that you can hold your Command key down and then move your cursor over text like this and you have a much larger view of it. It also shows up while typing. So you can type using a nice small font that's appropriate for the document, but as you type you get to see it nice and big. The other one I want to show you here is under Display. There's Increased Contrast. This is a very popular one nowadays because it changes macOS Big Sur from looking like this to looking like this. It's kind of a retro look. And a lot of people find they like this. Now let's go to Security and Privacy. In there under General you have to unlock to get to these settings. There's a checkbox for Show a Message when the screen is locked. So now you can set a message here and type whatever you want. And somebody who looks at your computer but the screen is locked and they can't unlock it, they see this message. So it's a handy way to put some contact information in case you lose your MacBook. Or maybe just a message for any coworker that comes by your cubicle and tries to get access to your Mac. So if we go down to sound now, there's a setting under sound effects here called play sound on startup. So for decades Macs always played this special startup sound and people really loved that. But for a little while Apple removed it from Mac OS so Mac started up silently, but there was an option to turn it on. And now that's a setting here in System Preferences, play sound on startup. So if you like that sound, have that turned on. But if you'd rather have your Mac start up silently, then turn it off. Now under Keyboard, in the Keyboard tab here, there's a setting for press the FN key too, and you have 4 options. So the FN key is found in different places on Mac keyboards. Most Mac keyboards, like on MacBooks, it's at the lower left-hand corner, but the larger Mac extended keyboards have it in the middle under the F13 key. You can change what's done here. In the newer Mac keyboards you actually have a globe on this key and the characters FN. So you can go and actually have that functionality with the FN key, show emoji and symbols. You could set it to change input source if that's something you need to do often. It's handy to have a key that does that. You can have it start dictation if you press FN twice, or do nothing. Now if you have it set to do nothing, it will still do the thing where it switches what the F keys do. So depending upon this setting, the F keys will either be special functions like screen brightness and volume, or would be F1, F2, F3, shortcuts used by a lot of different apps. So you can toggle it right here. That still happens no matter what setting you've got, but you could also have a quick tap on the FN key, do one of these. Now I want to show you a few things here for displays. You've got resolution, default for display, or scaled. And normally when you set it to scaled you see these 5 options here. But if you option click on scaled, that will change to a list and you can access many more screen resolutions. Simply option click on scaled again to switch back to this set of 5. Now when you go to arrangement, you'll see all of your screens here and how they're arranged, and you can drag them around. Of course if you only have one screen you'll just see that one screen here. There's not much you can do. But if you do have multiple screens, a lot of people don't know that you can change what is the primary screen by clicking and dragging the menu bar that's at the top of the main screen now to another screen. Whichever one has the menu bar is considered the primary screen. And another thing I want to show you in displays is night shift. So night shift allows you to shift the colors on your displays to make them warmer after dark. So that's supposed to make it easier for you to fall asleep. So if you use your Mac late at night you may want to consider using this. Or maybe you just like a slightly different look of the screen at different times of the day. So you can set a schedule here or sunset to sunrise. You can turn it on right here manually and you can change the color temperature less or more warm right here under night shift. It's got a lot of attention when it was first introduced a few years ago, but I find today a lot of people don't know it's there. So one last one I want to show you, and that's when you go to sharing. Under sharing at the top here you've got computer name. That's the name of your Mac on the network. So if you're using a network at work or even at home and you've got a problem figuring out which Mac is which, you can go here and change this name to anything that you want. So you can put your name or describe the computer. Maybe you've got 3 MacBooks at home and they're all called MacBook, right? You can change it to be Gary's MacBook, etc. It is definitely a very common question that I get. How do I change the name of my Mac as it's shown on the network? And it's here under sharing. A lot of people look for it under network or maybe under general, but it's actually in sharing that you find this. So that's just a look at some of these really obscure things that you can find in system preferences that are useful. There are tons more. I encourage you to go when you have time and look at every section of system preferences. Look at all of the different settings and try to figure out what could be useful to you. There's a little question mark button at the bottom right hand corner. In most cases you can click that and get descriptions of a lot of these things to figure out what they do. If you really want to get the most out of your Mac, it's worth it to take the time to do this to find out all the different ways that you can customize your Mac and change how it works. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.
I got to say, a lot of that shit, your name of your computer and sharing has been there forever. And
Yes.
Whenever I work on somebody's computer, I always check it, and it's usually something that's inappropriate. Like when you migrate from an old computer, it migrates the name. Worked on somebody's yesterday, and the name of their computer was iMac G5. So when you
Is
get a
that
new
right?
computer, yeah,
That is-
when you get a new computer, you need, and you move your stuff, you actually need to go and,
Hi,
migrate
this is
everything, including the name. You need to go name your new computer, especially if your old one's still around.
Gary with MacMost.
You need to name one new computer, one old computer, whatever.
We got 2 more videos here,
Oh, boy.
so we got to move along. I may have booked too much stuff in here, adding Justine in there. Let's talk about dragging and dropping on the iPad, and then I have a real gobsmacker at the end for you. This one you may have to watch several times because it gets a little complicated.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Today, let's look at how you can use drag and drop on your iPad. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 900 supporters. Go to macmost.com/Patreon. There you can read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So recently I did a video on how to use slide over and split view on your iPad so you can view multiple apps at the same time on the same screen. One of the main reasons to do that is so you can use drag and drop to move objects between apps. Drag and drop is one of the most fundamental skills for using a Mac. But thanks to split view and slide over, since we can see 2 apps on the screen at the same time, we can also use drag and drop there and you can accomplish a lot. So let's start off with something really basic. I'm going to go into the Files app. So I have it here. Moving your files around is one of the primary ways to use drag and drop. And you could do that here in Files. But of course it helps if you could see more than one location at a time. So you can use split view for that. So if I go to the bottom of the screen here and bring up the dock, I could bring up the Files app again and simply move it to one side of the screen. So now I have the Files app twice. It's going to ask me to choose recent locations. And I'm going to end up here in a different folder. So actually here on the left I have the main level of on my iPad, so locally stored files. On the right here I'm in iCloud Drive deep down in a folder called Temp, and I have a bunch of files there. Now I could drag and drop files between these locations just like I can on a Mac. So if I want to move this file onto iCloud Drive into this folder, I could simply tap it, drag, and drop it here. And we'll make a copy of it. Likewise, I can move one of these files over to this folder the same way. So that's already really useful and a lot more like a Mac experience for organizing your files. But I could also do this using slide over. I'm going to get rid of the split view here and instead bring up the same location but as slide over. So I'm going to go down to the bottom here, grab Files, and drag it up. Instead of going all the way to the right, I'm just going to leave it here where it's going to be a slide over window instead. And then I can select the recent location there, and now I can see the same thing, and I could drag and drop the same way between these two. But now I have the added benefit that I could actually move this window around from left to right. I can toss it off to the side to dismiss it and bring it back when I need. Now I can do more than just go from one location in Files to another location. I can go into other apps as well. So for instance, let's bring up Safari here and put that here in split view. And I was already at a page where it was asking me to drop an image for an upload. Now on a Mac you would quite naturally drag and drop to that location. But here on the iPad you might be used to just clicking there and then selecting a file. But thanks to split view here and drag and drop, I can do the drag and drop from the Files window into Safari over here and do the upload just like I would on a Mac. Now we can do the same thing with Mail. So normally you would drag and drop to attach something to an email on a Mac. You can do it here on the iPad as well. I'll bring up Mail. I'll have it be in split view here. I'll go to Compose a New Message. And I could drag and drop a file directly into that message just like I could on the Mac. So here's another example. We can go into the Photos app and let's say we want to export one of these images to a file. So on the Mac you can drag and drop out of Photos, and guess what? You can do the same thing on the iPad now. So I'm going to bring up the Files app here in split view. I'm going to go to this folder here and I can select one of these photos and drag and drop it here, and it will export it from Photos into a file. And as you can imagine, I could do the same thing in the opposite direction. So I can drag and drop this into Photos. Now you think you would work also going directly from Photos to, say, a mail composition window. But it doesn't quite work. Replace Files over here with Mail. We're already composing a message. And then we'll go here, drag and drop this in, and it seems to work. Gives you a little plus. Drop it in, and it doesn't quite happen. So it's not perfect. Maybe you'll have better luck with that. On the other hand, if we try it with the Messages app and we drag and drop it in as part of a new message, you can see it does actually go in there. You can also take a file or photo and drag and drop it into Pages. I've got a blank document and I can drag and drop this image directly into Pages. And you'll find it works in lots of other situations as well. For instance, I've got Safari here on the right, Files here on the left, and I can drag this image over here to download it and place it as a file in iCloud Drive in this case, or on my Mac. I could also select text and I could drag and drop the text as well over. What I'm going to get is kind of this rich text clipping here. I can open it up and see what's inside. So lots of versatility, and it's very Mac-like. So once you've mastered split view and slide over, the next thing to do is to start to use them to drag and drop just like you would on a Mac. And you find out you can do so many different things in a very desktop-like manner, but on your iPad. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday.
Come on. There we go. Well, that's very, very interesting, but it's complicated and you may need to watch that more than once to get a handle on how to master that, all that stuff. It's pretty deep. This is the last video of the evening, I promise. Normally we don't take this long, but this is one that I never knew you could do this simply. And I've always been mystified by iMovie. I never could get the hang of that thing. So here, take a look at this. This is going to knock your block off.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Let me show you how to easily combine 2 or more videos on your Mac. MacMost is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 900 supporters. Go to MacMost.com/Patreon. There you could read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. Now you may find that sometimes you want to take 2 videos and combine them into one. Have one play right after the other, but they're both part of the same video in the same file. You can do that using an app like iMovie or Final Cut Pro, but you have to create an entire project, then add both videos, and then export them out. There's an easier way to do it using Quicktime Player on your Mac that doesn't create any excess files. So here I have some videos and let's combine 2 of them. Now by default, Quicktime Player should be the app that opens when you double click on a video. If it isn't, you can always just run Quicktime Player and then open the file from Quicktime Player or drag and drop the file onto Quicktime Player to open it. So here I've got the first video. I'm going to shrink the window down here a bit and you can see that it is looking at that first file right now, desert1.mp4. Now I want to add desert2.mov to the end of this video and save it out as a new file. Now I don't have to worry about creating a new document because Quicktime Player is going to do that automatically for me. Now there's an easier way to do this and I'll show you in a minute. But to start, we're going to go to Edit and then Add Clip to End. It's as easy as that. Then you can select the next file. I'll just drag and drop it here into the Open File dialog so it's automatically selected. Nice and easy. I'll click Choose Media and now you'll see I entered the editing mode inside of Quicktime Player and it shows me clearly that there's one video here and another video after it. So it's combined the 2 of them. I can click and drag this red line here and go through the video and see where it goes from one to the other. But notice at the top here it changed the file name from desert1.mp4 to untitled. it automatically created a new document with these 2 videos in it. So I don't have to worry about whether this will change the original file or not. It won't. It'll automatically create a new document. Now when I go to save, you'll find that you can't. File, save is grayed out. The reason for that is this is a composite document. This basically has links to 2 different video files. So saving it doesn't make sense. What makes sense is to export it. And you can export it as various different video sizes. Now of course you can only export at the resolution of the videos that you have in it. So in this case both were 1080p, so it's only going to let me export as 1080p. No sense exporting as something with a higher resolution because that resolution doesn't exist in either video. So I'm going to select 1080p and now I can save this out. Note that I can select the format here. Either the standard H.264, which will play on a wide variety of different devices including older Macs and PCs, or the new better HEVC format which will create a smaller file size while maintaining quality. I'm going to use HEVC in this case and I'll save it out. And it'll give me the progress here as it renders out a new video from the combination of these 2. So here I've got my new video. Let's close this untitled document here. And notice when I close it, even if I hadn't exported it out, it's going to prompt me to actually export it at this point with the same options. So I don't need to do that since I already did it. If I double click on this one to open it up, you can see I have both videos in here. And if I go into editing mode by hitting Command T, you'll see it's just one long video now. It doesn't show as 2 different segments. Now you can make this even easier with drag and drop. So I'm going to open up this first video here. Let's shrink it down. And if I simply drag the second video into it, what happens is the editing interface opens up at the bottom automatically. And in fact, I can select what side I want to add this to. So I can add it to the beginning or the end. So I can add that in and I end up at the same state but with fewer steps. And now I can export as right from here. Matter of fact, you can continue to add more videos. So I can drag and drop this one in and add it in between or before or after these. And even once you've imported these in, you can still select them and drag them around to change the order. Now note when you're doing this, if you try to combine videos that are using different aspect ratios, like for instance this desert video here is 16:9, but this older video here of a waterfall is 4:3. So if I try to combine those, let's say open this and then let's bring this one in and I drop it in, what will happen is that the video will actually be enlarged so it fits horizontally. So there are no black bars, but you're going to lose some of the top and bottom. But if I do it the opposite way, then I start with a video that's 4:3. Then if I drag in another video that's 16:9, the video is actually shrunk horizontally. So it's squeezed in and narrower than it should be. So it's not even really done properly. If you're going to go and combine 2 videos that are using different aspect ratios, then you really need to do it in an app like iMovie or Final Cut Pro where you can control the cropping of each clip specifically to get the results that you want. Now what about in Photos? If you keep your videos in Photos, is there a way to merge 2 videos to get one in Photos? And sadly the answer is no. You have to use the same technique here. Now while you can select a video and go to Image and then Edit With and choose QuickTime Player, it doesn't really work with this method because it's not going to allow you to merge 2 videos very easily that way. So what you're going to want to do is export the videos that you want. So I'll just drag and drop them here to the desktop and they appear there. I'll do the same technique here. I'll open up one in QuickTime Player. I'll drag and drop the other one onto it. I'll then export it and save it out. Then I'll take that new video and add that back into my library and I'll get it as a new combined video there. If I really wanted to, then I can go in and delete these 2. So it's not as quick or elegant if you want to do this with videos that you have in your Photos library, but you can still do it. So I hope you found this useful. Thanks for watching.
What do you think of that? I had no idea I could do that. And maybe I'm just slow to pick up on that stuff, but I think that that was just marvelous.
I've been doing that for years. It used to be you'd pay for a version of QuickTime Pro that would let you
I remember
do these
that.
things.
Yeah.
And then that was not 32-bit and it went away. And they added some of those features back into QuickTime Player, but not all of them.
Yeah.
So are you able to trim those various videos
Yes.
so that
Yeah,
to adjust the how they the two videos
you
edit
can
together?
trim the ends. That's what I
And
do.
can you do transitions
No,
between the two, like a fade or anything?
no.
You have to go into iMovie to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very fast. It's quick and dirty. It's just combining the videos. It's not doing it. It's trimming or combining or adding and just the links. You can shrink the links and trim off the end or things like that.
Yeah, well, I just had no idea you could do that. Now I see Vern is here. Vern is probably a premier videographer. He's always done very good films for the film fest. But were you aware of that, Vern?
No, I haven't tried that. It's kind of interesting because I was thinking about combining some subsequent short videos into a Zoom meeting for my car club that I've got a
Oh yeah, I
bunch.
remember you asked about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
it's very handy. That's what I do when I would shoot videos at Pebble Beach of the cars on the tour. I would stand with the iPhone and watch the car. I would shoot like, a couple of minutes and stop, and then I'd shoot a couple of minutes and stop, and I end up with like 10 minutes that were 20. Then I'd go into QuickTime Player and I'd just add them, trim off the ends I didn't want, pile them on there, 10 of them, and save it out and upload it to YouTube.
I'll have to try that.
Yeah. Yeah, that one knocked me out. I probably should have put it on earlier when everybody was still here. I don't know how many are still here. 34 people. We had more than that to begin with, I think. So, well, they're lost. They can see it on YouTube and they're on the reruns. So I'm sorry I took everybody's time up so long. I normally try not to go this long, but I had so much stuff today that I figured we'd put it all on the table because let's see, we won't be here I won't be here next week. We'll have our regular training section.
No, we'll be here next week. There's an extra month. There's an extra meeting this month.
Oh, okay, good. Well, I'll have to put my thinking cap on.
Yeah, it isn't until the first Tuesday is the class, so we'll be here next week.
Okay, very good. Let's see.
And we remind people we do have the clinic this Saturday. Has anybody signed up?
No, not yet.
Maybe we won't have the clinic.
Helen was going to call Rick about an appointment.
It was in the MailChimp on Sunday. I put a blurb in there, like a description of it. I put it on the BBS.
Yeah.
No takers so far, huh?
Well, I think people are still a little unused to it because it's been gone for so long. So, and it's not just changing hard drives and stuff. We can actually troubleshoot your system. I think Howard Smallheiser last time had kind of a mess on his hands. And as time consuming as it is, we can unsort those things.
That's my problem. It's just a messy computer.
Well, we got an expert on, we call those John jobs. And John is so good at that. So if you decide,
I don't know what the clinic is. I'm too new.
Well, we haven't been doing it for the last, 14 months. The Mac Clinic is a service of the club. It's always on the fourth Saturday, where if you've got a problem with your Mac, it needs some kind of a repair or a new hard drive, or if your machine is compatible with getting RAM added, this is the stuff that we can do for you at the clinic at no charge. You just make an appointment with me. I triage it and find out what kind of time frame it's going to be, and then I assign you. Typically, we used to have afternoon and morning and afternoon appointments. The morning appointments frequently went over into the afternoon. But right now, at this time, while we're still under CDC guidelines, we will take 3 people, and we've got up to 3 technicians that'll be working there. And you bring your machine in after you call me and make an appointment, and then I go over what your problem is, and I print out a worksheet that's ready and waiting for you for when you come on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock.
Where?
To the club office.
Oh, okay.
396 Civic Drive in Pleasant Hill. Now, don't confuse it with Civic Drive in Walnut Creek. Some of our members have done that.
No,
They've
I
gone
know.
to Civic Drive in Walnut Creek and said, "Where are you guys?" Well, we're over in Pleasant Hill.
Up the
over
creek.
By the, pardon me? Yeah, in the creek. So yeah, I'm glad you asked that, Linda, because that's been, aside from our bulletin board, it's one of our premier benefits of membership in the club.
Well, I'm learning, but oh dear.
Well, that's good.
Do you mind if it's just coming to learn how to do some things?
It's
No,
not
we
really
fix
for,
things.
it's not really for learning things, it's for fixing things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you do body work there? Can you turn my Mac Mini? Because I wouldn't mind having a pink Mac Mini.
They have a good supply of black paint.
I'm pretty sure Chris would like have some ideas on that.
Well, there is, that what I would think probably would work on it is, I remember there used to be a product, the spray can stuff that you got that was for engines, special paint for automobile engines.
People used to paint them back in the day.
Yeah, and it's heat resistant, but it adheres to metal beautifully. So yeah, you could probably do that. I'd rough it up a little bit with some emery paper.
And not too sweet.
Okay.
And give it a shot of paint.
So the
Like-
big deal
You
now
probably
is
just heard me making a drink order to my husband.
Ah,
so the big thing now is to upgrade your old computer with an SSD drive to make it faster. That's the main thing that people need to do, and it's a worthwhile
that's
deal. I've
just-
been doing those like crazy. I got 3 more in the pipe, got parts on order. Yeah, it's a worthwhile deal to do it.
And
That
what do
takes some
you-
time.
But now, John, what do you charge people to do that privately as opposed to free at the
I
clinic?
do a flat rate at the office for $100, plus you buy the
And
parts.
at the clinic, we do that for free.
Yeah, it does
okay.
take some
You get the
time,
part.
depending on how much stuff you have, because you have to transfer all your data from one to another. That can take, 2 hours to 8 hours. And if you have a lot
Well-
of stuff, we kind of got to do that in advance before you come.
We've
somehow.
purchased, however, enclosures that will accommodate the new solid state drive. And I've agreed that if you order the solid state drive, and we'll tell you where to get it, I will come to your house and bring you one of these, put the new solid state drive in there, and then we'll back up your solid state drive, your old drive, onto a solid state drive. When you come to the office, your information will be on that drive, and all we have to do is swap out the drives, and it saves a lot of time. So I would come on the Friday night prior to the clinic.
So the
and
actual
deliver that to you.
swapping, if you do that, the actual swapping can be done in well under an hour.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think the last one we did a test on Dawn shoes took us 20 minutes.
Why do you want a solid state drive?
Yes,
Because
that's a
it's
good question.
It's 10 times faster.
It's extremely important as you move forward in the operating systems, because say you bought your computer when High Sierra came out or something, or before that, and it has an older spinning hard drive. Well, as you move forward to Mojave and then Catalina and then Big Sur, those systems are optimized for solid state drives, and the older spinning drives tend to work really slow. So
It depends on, I can't figure out why, but some of them have come to me where they're actually unusable. They just flat out don't work. They're so slow, and that's turned out to be why. Now, Linda, we
Yep.
already did that. We already did this to yours.
That's what my next question was. did
And
we
I
do
always
that?
did this to Ken's, remember? And this is one of
Okay.
the unfortunate ones where I broke your screen. And I had to buy a screen, and that's why I had to keep it for so long.
I'm so
Oh my
sorry.
God.
So I had to eat it and buy the screen because it was my fault.
Well,
Now, I
So
have
it
a
is
27
possible
inch,
the screens can break.
I have a 27-inch iMac, and it was taking me nearly 2 minutes to boot that thing up with the old drive in it.
That's normal.
I put in an SSD and it now boots in 17 seconds.
That's right.
Wow.
That's standard. That's
And it
I'm
is
pretty much amazed. Every
absolutely-
time I do this, I'm amazed how fast it is. It's just
Where
friggin'
do you get a
unbelievable.
solid state drive?
Buy them on Amazon.
What?
You get them from
You can buy 'em
Amazon.
at Best Buy. You can buy them from Amazon, other online retailers. They're pretty common.
How do you know?
We'll help you make a selection of what you need when you call me for an appointment.
How do you know whether you have a solid state drive or not? How do you know what kind of drive you have?
Open up the Apple menu and go to About This Mac.
Okay.
And you might have to go to a system report to see, or open disk utility in the utilities folder. Normally, you don't have one unless you paid extra from Apple through the nose.
Yeah.
Apple charges a lot of money for the SSD drives, and they were used to be really expensive. Now they've come down in price, but nothing like, I just ordered 2 different 500 gig SSDs from Amazon, and it was like $60 or something. You gotta know all your drives for the last 10 years, the old fashioned drives are 1 terabyte. So you gotta look and see how much stuff you have. Some people only have 100 gigs, 200 gigs. You're approaching 200, you don't want to get a 256, you want to go for the 500. Some people don't have nothing, they have 50 or 100 gigs.
Yeah, when you call for an appointment, I'll walk you through all that stuff. And I can tell you that I have a friend whose drive I replaced for her, and she had purchased a 21-inch iMac that was almost unusable because she kept it up to date with Big Sur, and it was taking like 3 minutes and 40 seconds to start that thing up. And she had a terabyte drive in there, but she only had like 100 gigs of data on there. So
exactly.
I said, you don't need a terabyte drive. And I think we bought a 256 gigabyte drive.
That's
and
like
put that in there.
$45.
Yeah, and we did the whole job for about $60.
The 21 inches only require the glue strips, which are $10. So $50 in parts. The 27 inches, they have a 3.5-inch drive in them, and where the 21s have a little 2.5. So you got to buy a $10 adapter bracket, and you have to buy a $40 new cable, which only comes from one place, our buddies at OWC, and that's $40.
Yeah,
so it costs more.
And I want to emphasize that it's not just boot time that it speeds up. It's the if you're plugging along, you notice your iMac starts beach balling a lot during operation. That's
Or
also
you click on an app on the
something that'll
dock. There's no bouncing. It just opens.
Yeah, it's like magic.
My Mac Mini that I bought has a 1 terabyte drive. It's fairly full right now. It sounds like I need an SSD drive.
Yep.
What's that going to cost me?
1 terabyte, as the size goes up, the price goes up, but they're available. I did one recently. Somebody had that much, and I forget, it was over $100. 2
Let me look.
terabytes are available. So as you go up in price, it ramps up. Now your minis, you got to watch out. The earlier minis have 2.5-inch standard drives. The newer ones, they're not upgradable.
I think mine's about a 2015 or 16, something like that.
Yeah, there's a mid-range in there where they are upgradable, but so we did a clinic job once that we couldn't get it apart. We didn't have the right screwdriver, so we bought it, came back the next month and tried to do it. And it required taking the whole thing apart, including the motherboard and everything else. And we decided that we don't want to tackle that. So we got to look
Yeah,
at the
this is something we would look up if you get
Yeah.
the exact
you got to go
model.
to iFixit or to OWC and look at the video and see if that's something that we're willing to tackle.
I'm looking at Amazon right now, and I see a Crucial 2 terabyte solid state drive for $193.99. And I see a Samsung 870 EVO 2 terabyte for $229.99. And that's the gold standard, the Samsung. It's
Yeah,
really
Samsung Evo is the top of the line and the most expensive.
yeah.
And when you're looking at that kind of money to upgrade a mini, it's time to start thinking about just getting a new mini.
Yeah.
But if you're going to get a new mini, you have to think, get a drive as big as you're ever going to want in that mini,
Right,
because
you
they're not
can't- that's not
upgradable.
No, not necessarily, because the new minis have got Thunderbolt. And
Oh.
you could use a Thunderbolt external drive that's absolutely as fast as
Exactly.
as
Way
the
cheaper.
internal drive. So you could get by with a 256.
Yep.
I'll
Exactly.
check it out and explore what I've got and what I can do with it. So I'll call
Sure.
you if I want an appointment sometime, probably next month. So it'll take me a while to figure this out.
There you go. That's
Take your
fine.
time. We all got nothing but time these days.
That's right.
So some of the older Macs in the like 2012 and onward, they're fusion drives, which are actually two separate drives, a
Right.
small drive that's solid state and a bigger drive that's a spinning
It's an
drive.
illusion.
And-
It makes it seem like it's faster, but it's only a small SSD, and I've been doing those, and it's worth doing.
Yeah, I had my 27 inches was a fusion drive, and I did it on that. That's all on the one SSD now. I have nothing on that little fusion drive, which is about 20 gigs, something like that.
Let's go ahead and stop the recording.
Okay, so when we switch to gallery view, see who's left. 25 people left. Okay. Say bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.